Hello, soul family. What's up? I know it's been way too long. It's your girl Kenzie, and I am back for a different kind of video. I'm a little nervous about this video, y'all. I don't know how everything is gonna come out, so I ask that y'all just, bear with me as I attempt to relay the information. Yeah, so as many of you know, I've been gone because I was moving. I am in a new space now, in my own space, so that's really nice, and just kind of dealing with my own personal issues in regards to the topic that I'm going to talk about today. And I feel like, it's a lot of people that are going through these types of things, so maybe my story and me sharing my experiences can help someone else, because honestly, that is the purpose of this channel, is to help people. I want to help those that are lost find themselves, because I once was and still am very, very lost. And we are all on a journey of self-discovery. We are on a journey of living through our higher selves. And, that's really what this spiritual journey is about. It's about being an eternal student. It's about constantly learning, constantly growing, constantly evolving. And sometimes that evolution can be hard. Sometimes it can be dark. Sometimes it can be rough. I feel like a lot of spiritual people get on here and, they've reached the level of Buddha or Gandhi, or, they're able to meditate for an hour a day. They have all these crystals and they're so happy and at peace. And a lot of them don't tell you some of the stuff that they actually had to go through to get there, to get to that level of peace, to get to the place where they can meditate for 1 hour, to get to the place where they can visualize what they want, to get to the place where they can manifest the life they desire. Sometimes you have to go through some deep dish to get there, right? And I feel like the thing about manifestation that a lot of people don't talk about is that in order to manifest the things you want in life, you have to meet the vibration or the frequency of those things. And sometimes, a lot of times, often, in order to do that, you have to kill the parts of yourself that don't meet those vibrations, right? It's this idea of the death and the rebirth, right? The death of the ego, the death of the false self, the death of the identity that we have that's tied to this matrix that we live in, that tells us everything we can't do, that tells us to live in fear, that tells us not to go after the things we truly want, that tells us not to be our authentic selves. We have to constantly fight those things and constantly battle with those things. And, I myself am going through that, and I feel like it would just be wrong for me to get up here and tell you guys everything you should do to be your best self and live your best life, and I'm not being honest about the fact that I struggle with those things as well. So the main thing I want to talk about in this video is spirituality. What is spirituality? What does it mean to have a spiritual awakening? Spiritual awakening. What does it mean to have a spiritual awakening? What does it mean to transition from Christianity to spirituality? What does it mean? I'm sorry, y'all. My hair wrap was not having the best hair day today. I need a haircut, so I threw this wrap on. What does it mean to be a spiritual person and go through a spiritual awakening? For many of you that know me, I was raised Christian. I went to church every Sunday. I was raised Presbyterian, actually, and they're basically like quiet Baptists. I went to church every Sunday, Sunday school, Bible study, and, those teachings really did help me through life. I still, believe in some of that. I think that, and I feel like this is what a lot of spiritual people believe, that it's a misconception. There is value in all religions, really, right? There's something you can learn from all religions. So I don't discount Christianity at all. However, I'm at a point in my life where I am on a journey of self-discovery. I am on a journey of self-exploration. And I am on a journey to figuring out the essence of who I am, right? So not just the physical body, but the soul. Who is the soul of Kenzie, right? Who am I? And, during this pandemic, during this quarantine, a lot of us were forced to be in solitude in a way that we had never been before, in a way that the world had never been before. And, it's only so many drinks you can take. It's only so many movies you can watch. It's only so many low vibrational things you can do before you realize, like, wow, I'm stuck in the house. There's nowhere to go. Maybe I should go within and figure out what I want out of life, right? And figure out who I am. And that's what I went through, is realizing, that like, yo, when I'm alone with myself, when there's no one around, when the friends aren't around, after the partying, after the going out, the clubbing, like, I'm not really happy with who I am internally when it's just me and God. And, I wanted to fix that. Many of you know I lost weight. I lost over 60 pounds because I discovered that I had a hernia in my stomach, and I didn't want to get surgery, so I went pescatarian. Before that, I love fried chicken, okay? I love spicy food. I love Cajun food, and I still do in moderation. They have some really good vegan soul food recipes, and really good, spicy vegan food recipes that I'll try every now and then. But I really had to learn that my body is a temple, and what I put into it is going to manifest on the outside, right? You are what you eat. And I was at a point in my life where, after I had lost all that weight, I just wanted more. Like, okay, I felt like the reason that God had me to lose all that weight is to get me prepared for the spiritual awakening that I would go on, for the greater purpose that my life had, right? That was separate from just waking up, going to work, doing my 9 to 5, which I am very grateful for. But a lot of us are so much more than our 9 to 5s, right? Some of us are so much more than the careers we have, than the jobs we have. We are creative beings. We are intuitive beings. And, as I started to look within myself, I found that, when I was younger, I used to paint. I painted that. And I used to draw, and I would write, and for years I just stopped doing it. I don't know why. I just didn't feel inspired to do that. I didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel like it's something I could really ever make a living doing, even though all my life people have told me what a great writer I am. Even as a kid, I would have grown people come to me and ask me to edit their writing, asked me to help them with writing, and even as a teenager. And so just recently, I feel like I'm really getting back to almost who I was as a child. And I feel like that's a big part of a spiritual awakening, is I feel like, as a child, we have dreams, we have wishes, we have fantasies, and then life happens, and we grow up, and we go to college, and we get caught up in the matrix of the 9 to 5, the matrix of going to work, coming home, and then waking up and do it all over again. We forget about our childhood dreams. We forget about our imagination, because as a child, children are very close to God, right? They're innocent. They're not marked by all the stress and all the bad things of the world that we as adults know to be true. Children are very pure, and I feel like as children, we often are connected with our true authentic selves, and then sometimes we grow up and we lose that. And I had lost myself. I realized that I was lost for so long, and I did not even realize that. And still to this day, I am coming out of that. And I feel like that's what a spiritual awakening is. It's when you just realize that you are not living you are not living as your true authentic self. And that's what I realized. I was not living as the best version of me. I was not living as my true authentic self. I was not doing the things that God put me on here to do. I was not being creative. I was not being confident. I was not secure in myself. I was insecure for years, still struggle with that, and we have to look within and see the beauty in ourselves, right? We have to see ourselves as God sees us, because we are godly beings. We are gods, right? We have the power to manifest. We have the power to bring about change in our lives, right? And it's great to go to church and to pray about things, but I feel like a lot of people, they don't do the action behind it. They say prayer without works is dead, and I realized in my own life that I wasn't doing the work, and so a spiritual awakening, kind of just to piggyback, I know I'm kind of all over the place, y'all. I'm just kind of sharing my story, and hopefully, it makes sense. I just feel like it's when you just want more out of life, and I begin to go through things. I begin to have dreams, to have visions of my future, of my past, and you know, just realizing that a lot of the stuff that I was taught growing up was a lie. And it's not my parents' fault because they were taught the same thing. You know, people can only give you what they were given. But it's just like, oftentimes we don't teach our children to be imaginative. We don't teach them to be our true authentic self, their true authentic selves. You know, and I had no idea before I had my spiritual awakening that I was an indigo child, right? That I was a star seed. And if you don't know what that is, indigo child is basically just another term for children that were put on this earth to basically change the world, right? Creatives, people that are intuitive, people that are put on here to change people's mindsets, to change their perceptions of reality, right? Beginning my YouTube channel, when I started it 7 years ago in college, I had no idea that I would be on here reading tarot cards. I didn't even know that that was something I could do until I went through this awakening, and it was honestly just a gift that spirit came and gave me in the night. You know, I have some older women in my family who I have some older women in my family who are intuitive and who are very what's the word? In tune with, you know, like metaphysics and, you know, like just they be knowing things, right? And I never really put two and two together or made much of it, but you know, sometimes that can be something that runs in your bloodline, being intuitive, knowing things, having a deep knowing. And you know, it's through reading the cards that I just begin to learn so much about myself and about the world around me. And you know, if anyone is looking to really connect with spirit in a different way, I would recommend getting oracle cards, because that's where I really started. Not with tarot cards, oracle cards. And the difference is with oracle cards, you're more so looking at the picture on the card and using it and using your imagination based on the circumstances, based on the cards around it to figure out what it means. Now, the oracle deck that I have does have tarot cards in it, but it is mostly an oracle deck, right? The girl, it's a black girl, she's an incredible painter that paints the cards. She says she wants people to look at the cards and use their imagination, right? And you know, that is a spiritual gift that I feel like God gave me once my third eye started to open and once I went through my spiritual awakening. And you know, I'm still learning how to use this gift. I'm still learning why me? Why was I chosen to have this gift? Why was I chosen to draw and paint and write? And how do I use those things to help make the world a better place, to help make me better, right? And you know, eventually I do want to use my creativity to make money and not, you know what I'm saying, have to do like a job forever just to pay the bills. Like, I feel like that's where we as a society are headed, where, you know what I'm saying, a lot of our parents, you know what I'm saying, they had to work at a job 40 hours a week for, you know, their whole life because they didn't really know anything else. But we are moving at a point in our society where with social media, with the internet, you know, people are able to make an income off of their passion and doing what they love. And I feel like that's part of going through a spiritual awakening, is realizing that you are more than the 9 to 5, right? And I feel like a lot of people that watch me, you are more than the 9 to 5. And so if you haven't gone through a spiritual awakening, or you know, sometimes you are going through it and you don't even know it, right? And you know, you'll just begin to feel like there's more to life. You'll begin to feel unhappy with the regular, right? You'll begin to feel unhappy with your everyday routine. You'll begin to want more, right? You might begin to question religion, right? You might begin to feel more connected with your ancestors. My grandmother, Lola Wilson, who is amazing, God rest her soul, you know, I know that she is watching over me, and I know that she is protecting me. And when I started my spiritual awakening, it's like I could just hear her voice so clearly in my head. And you know, when she passed away, and when I spent a lot of time with her, I was young, so I wasn't as knowledgeable about the things that I was knowledgeable about now. But looking at her life and looking at the impact that she had on people, my grandma, my nanny was what I call her, she walked into a room and it was like the room just lit up. Like, just being around her, when I hear people talk about having been around her, she just made them happy. Like, people would just want to be around her. And I truthfully believe that she had a healing presence, and you know, I aspired to be like her. She was walking life. Like, I never saw her get mad. I never saw her get angry. She was just so peaceful and so grounded, and that was just who she was. And I feel like there's a lot of her in me, and I feel connected to her. And I feel like a lot of you, you all may have ancestors that you feel connected to. And I encourage you to ask God to continue to connect you with those ancestors, because those ancestors will help to guide you during this spiritual journey, during your spiritual awakening. They will help to guide you with what to do next. Which way should you turn? Which way should you go? How do you go about navigating these thoughts that you're having that are not normal? How do you go about navigating this new reality? Because that's really where we're going. Is we are going to a new reality in this earth. We are going to a new dimension, right? Things are not the way they used to be. Things are not what they seem. What they seem. Veils are getting lifted, right? We have a political arena that is just crazy right now. The American government is crazy right now. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of, we have a virus that's crazy right now, different variants coming out, a vaccine, like it's so much going on in the world, and we have to look at that and realize that God is creating a new world, right? The Most High God is doing something. Spirit is doing something. And, we can't be stagnant. We have to stand up and we have to move and we have to be better. And I truthfully believe that God wants us, He is calling us to be our highest selves, to live through our third eye, to use our intuition to guide us. And that's another thing with this spiritual awakening, is that you begin to realize that I can say for me, what I've experienced is it's not always logical, right? And even studying manifestation and the laws of the universe, like sometimes when you have faith, it's not logical. Sometimes when you're being guided by your intuition, it's not logical. You know where to go, how to get there, and what to do just at the right moment, and you can't explain it. That's your intuition, right? That's your ancestors and your spirit guides guiding you, right? Some people may be guided to quit a job, right? They may be guided to apply to another job. They may be guided to start a YouTube channel, guided to start a cooking show. Some of you may be guided to move to a completely new state, guided to cut off your friends, to make new friends. These are all signs and symptoms of a spiritual awakening. Signs and symptoms of your third eye opening. Signs and symptoms of ascending to a higher level of consciousness, right? And you're not alone. I know it might seem like it, and that's how I felt. I felt alone because a lot of the people I grew up with, a lot of my friends, they didn't understand. And once your third eye starts to open and you begin to live through your higher self, and you begin to walk out in the world and be confident about who you are and what you stand for, you will begin to see BS in people. You will begin to look at people and see them for who they are. And sometimes it can hurt, right? You might have family members that tell you that you're crazy because you don't want to go to church anymore. You might have family members that tell you that you're crazy because you want to start your own business. You might have family members that just don't understand why you don't want to do the things you used to do, why you don't want to drink every day anymore, right? Why you don't want to smoke every day anymore, why you just all of a sudden want better for yourself, or why you just all of a sudden think more of yourself, or why you all of a sudden walk different and talk different. Well, we weren't meant to live and die in the same mindset, right? And that we just weren't. We were meant to evolve, right? Because God is higher. So in order to get to Him, we have to rise higher. We have to ascend, right? And I feel like it's a lot of people, sadly, that do live and die in the same mindset, right? They never change their consciousness. They don't seek knowledge. And, that's something that I'm learning, is to constantly seek knowledge and to constantly study, spirituality, to study metaphysics, to study the laws of the universe, because those are going to help. Those are things that we are going to be using to help us on this spiritual journey, to help us on this spiritual awakening. And, sometimes you go through multiple spiritual awakenings. I feel like I'm currently going through a second mini spiritual awakening after my first one. And, after the first one, that's when I started the YouTube channel. I started reading cards. I still do read cards for myself every day, but I don't really feel led to get on YouTube and do that every day anymore. I just don't. I more so want to make videos helping you guys with your spiritual journey, us having conversations about our spiritual awakenings, telling you some things that I'm going through and experiencing, because I feel like I can't be the only one going through this, right? And sometimes we have to look to the internet, right? I know when I was really in the heat of it, and it was the people on the internet that got me through. It wasn't my family, it wasn't my friends, it wasn't the people I grew up with. It was going on YouTube and realizing that, it's people out here that are going through the same thing. And it made me feel like, I'm sorry, y'all. It made me feel like I was not so crazy. And, you know, I remember when I made my first YouTube video, and because I was always the person growing up that just didn't stand up for herself. Like, I've always been a beautiful woman. Men have always told me I was beautiful. My mother has always told me I was beautiful, but I didn't believe it. I used to look in the mirror at myself and hate what I saw, man. I used to hate it so much, and I used to get picked on growing up. And looking back, I realized that the reason that a lot of those people were picking on me was because they were jealous, right? And this is another thing that we have to understand is that you will begin to have a light. And a lot of us, we have always had a light. And you might wonder why people treat you a certain way, why people say certain things to you. It's because they see your light. Even when you don't see it, they see your light, right? And I feel like all throughout my life, people have always seen my light. And just at 26 years old, am I starting to see my own light, right? And I remember when I made my first, it wasn't my first YouTube video, because I started my channel back in college about 7 years ago. But I was only making videos about poetry, right? I wasn't talking about the cards or anything. And I had made a video about manifestation. It was like a poem about manifestation. And I was so excited, so hyped, y'all. That was when I first got my Rose course. If you're struggling with self-love, I recommend getting Rose course. It will make you love on yourself so good and just walk like you love yourself. And it was like I had superpowers, and I was almost scared watching the video because I just displayed a confidence and in your faceness that I had never seen myself have before. And I know that people that knew me, it scared them too, because they had never seen that side of Kenzie. It was like it was a side of me that I didn't even know existed. And a spiritual awakening will bring that out of you. You will begin to see yourself front and center. You will begin to see yourself in a new light. You will begin to say things and do things that you wouldn't have done before. Why? Because you're living in truth, right? And it's not being arrogant, and it's not being conceited. It's you being confident. It's you being independent. It's you understanding that you are a value to this world. You are a light in this world, and it is your God-given duty to stand in that light. If other people don't like it, that's their problem. They need to stand in their own light. A lot of people are intimidated by people that stand in their power because they're not standing in their power, right? And so yeah, that was like a moment where, like, when I first watched the video, I was scared. Like, I ran. Like, yeah, I was scared. And it was hard, going through the spiritual awakening. It was times when, my family, they really did think I was crazy, because sometimes I would just disappear, go get a hotel. I remember one time I just went off in the country. My family is from the country. My grandparents grew up in the country. And I just went off to the country because I just wanted to be alone. And you will feel that desire often. You will want to literally be alone, away from people. It's because spirit is wanting you to be alone so they can talk to you, so they can speak to you. Sometimes we can't really hear God's voice because of the people around us, right? If they're low vibrational, or if their frequency is not of high vibration, if their third eye isn't open, we won't be able to get the messages that spirit has for us because of the people we're around. And oftentimes you might get the desire to be alone, right? Maybe you live with a family member, maybe you live with someone. You will suddenly have the desire to just have your own space, right? And you're not crazy. I'm here to tell you, you're not crazy. You are beautiful. You are unique. You are different. And, it's your birthright to stand in that. What else? Crystals. Crystals also really help me. I would tell anybody that's feeling like they're going through a spiritual awakening to get rose quartz. It's self-love in a stone, in a crystal, right? It just makes you love yourself. It makes you have self-confidence if you have self-confidence issues. Another thing that I think is really important with the spiritual awakening, and I'm still doing this in my life, is getting a trusted therapist, right? Getting a counselor, getting someone to talk to that understands you, that understands your journey, that understands what you're going through. And they have a lot of intuitive therapists. I have an intuitive therapist. And you want to get a therapist, like I said, that's similar to you, that understands you. You know what I mean? And somebody you can talk to, somebody that won't judge you. Yes, you are paying them to talk to them, but you will want somebody to talk to through this journey. You will want somebody to tell about some of the things you might be experiencing. And if they're intuitive, if their third eye is open, they're not going to look at you like you're crazy when you tell them about maybe some visions that you're having, maybe some dreams that you're having, maybe some out-of-body experiences that you're having, these are all things that happen to people that are spiritually awoke. They will begin to have experiences that maybe regular people don't have or don't understand. Yeah, and if you're unable to afford a therapist, I suggest just going on YouTube. There are a lot of spiritual teachers, spiritual counselors that make videos on YouTube to help people. And I do not yet consider myself a spiritual teacher. I feel like I'm still a student. And we are in this together. Like, I haven't gotten to the point where I want to get to. I'm still working on myself. I am in therapy. And, another thing that really helps is doing shadow work. And this is what I'm learning. A lot of us have repressed emotions from childhood, from growing up, that we don't even realize we had. And sometimes, when you don't deal with those emotions, when you don't deal with those issues, it can stop you from being your best self, right? It can cause you to continuously be in the same relationships, to continuously repeat the same cycles, right? Sometimes we wonder why better is not coming in for us. And sometimes God wants better to come in for us, but we haven't taken the time to really stop and reflect on, okay, if I have this bad relationship, I have these internal issues, maybe I should sit down and work on myself. Maybe I should journal. Maybe I should talk to somebody about my issues before I just go in the next relationship and repeat the same issues. And it can be hard to face yourself. It can be hard to face your demons. It can be hard to face a childhood issues, that you repress and you kind of act like they're not there. But it's going to help you to be better spiritually in the long run once you face those issues, right? Yeah, it's going to help you to be better in the long run. And like I said, it's not easy, but you got to understand that it's worth it, right? God loves you and he wants you to be the best version of yourself, right? And so you can't be the best version of yourself if you don't deal with the dark parts of yourself, right? Because we all have light and dark in us. So, sometimes we have to deal with our dark side so that our light can shine brighter for others to see. This video is getting kind of long, y'all, and I feel like I'm rambling a little bit. So I'm going to end this video now, and I might come back with a part 2. I'm not sure yet if I can think of anything else. Let me know in the comments if any of you are experiencing this. Let me know in the comments if any of you have gone through a spiritual awakening. Let me know if any of you are spiritual. And, like I said, I just want to create a community where we can support each other, learn from each other, because I feel like I can learn just as much from you guys as you can from me. I don't claim to know everything. I'm a student. I'm still learning a lot about, spirituality, about myself, about the world around me, about some things that I have going on internally. And let's ascend together. Let's go on this journey together and uplift each other. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate the people that have reached out to me during this time when I haven't been posting, asking me how I'm doing, asking me when I'm gonna post. Like, it just warms my heart to know that you guys love my presence that much, that you wait for my videos, that my videos might be the first thing you watch in the morning. Like, that makes me feel so full, because as a kid, I used to put on shows for family, friends, and being famous, or I wouldn't say famous, but being someone that was watched by people was always something that I really desired, but I never really thought that it would happen for me. And it is happening for me, and God is showing me that I have a gift and I need to share. I have many gifts that I need to share with the world. So I love you guys, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.